In long-range rocket artillery, the launcher is only half of the system. The primary significance lies in the entire ecosystem. How much ammunition can be delivered, how quickly a battery can change position, and most importantly, how fast a country can restock warehouses with rockets and shells on an industrial scale. This is why the K-239 Chunmoo system and its Polish variant, HIMARS, have suddenly begun to be viewed not just as alternatives, but as representing a different approach. It offers a massive fire at the M270 level, placed on a wheeled chassis with road mobility comparable to modern trucks, while being supported by ammunition production that can be deployed outside the American production queue. The modern base M142 system is built around a single modular container, which typically contains 6 rockets of the 227mm family or 1 ATAC-EMS class missile. The system is optimized for rapid movement and rapid employment. The compact launcher is mounted on an FMTV wheeled chassis and is operated by a crew of 3 people. The concept is simple: arrive quickly, fire, and leave the position before counter-battery assets and loitering munitions turn the firing point into a kill zone. This is exactly the reputation HIMARS has earned: precision, speed, and an advanced fire control and targeting system. Chunmoo utilizes the same shoot-and-scoot philosophy, but changes the launcher architecture. The K-239 carries 2 launch containers on a single vehicle. This design decision changes the combat mathematics. Unlike the single container of HIMARS, Chunmoo acts as a wheeled analog to the M270 system. 2 containers mean more ready-to-fire munitions per launcher and the ability to combine different types of weaponry on one vehicle. A single Chunmoo unit can arrive in a firing area with a combined loadout, for example, with high-precision rockets in one container and long-range munitions in the other, without the need to use different types of launchers. This forms the basis of the claim regarding greater firepower. And it all begins with simple numbers. In a typical high-precision rocket configuration, Chunmoo can carry 12 guided rockets per vehicle, 6 in each container. 2 containers total. The standard HIMARS load in a similar class is 6 rockets. Doubling the number of ready-to-fire guided rockets does not automatically mean a 2-fold increase in effectiveness, but it does mean that fewer vehicles are required to deliver the same number of strikes, or the same forces can provide a denser volley before reloading becomes the limiting factor. In environments where time on position is measured in minutes rather than hours, this matters. Chunmoo also supports various rocket families beyond the high-precision class. The system is typically described as capable of employing 131mm rockets in large volumes for engaging targets at shorter distances, as well as larger rockets and guided munitions with calibers ranging from 200 to 240mm. The key point is as follows. Chunmoo does not directly use the same American containers and rockets used on the M142 and M270. The system is built around Korean ammunition developments and a Korean industrial base. This is exactly what makes it attractive to buyers who prioritize scalability and speed of delivery without waiting in the general queue of MLRS family customers. In the Polish variant, HIMARS, this takes on strategic rather than just technical significance. HIMARS is essentially a Chunmoo launch module integrated onto a Polish Jelcz chassis with a national fire control system and a long-term industrial program. The goal is not simply to purchase launchers, but to create a domestic long-range artillery ecosystem. Such an approach transforms the acquisition of equipment into the formation of national capabilities. In the Polish inventory, one of the key guided rockets is considered the CGR-80. This is a high-precision munition viewed as a functional analog to the guided rocket concept that made HIMARS famous. The advantage of such systems becomes real only when there is a sufficient quantity of ammunition. And this is where Norway's decision becomes an important signal for the European rocket artillery market. Norway conducted a procurement for long-range rocket artillery and ultimately chose Chunmoo, bypassing two popular competitors, HIMARS and the Israeli Pulse system. The deal was valued at approximately $2 billion and was seen as a serious investment in national capabilities rather than a symbolic purchase. The reasons for the choice highlight the current priorities of states: delivery timelines, industrial production guarantees, and the prospects for developing range up to the 500-kilometer level. The PULS system, developed by Elbit, possesses a number of strengths. It is a modular system supporting different calibers and capable of employing various types of ammunition from a single launcher. Its arsenal includes 122 and 160 mm rockets for short ranges, ocular guided variants, extra rockets of 306 mm caliber with a range of about 150 kilometers, and Predator Hawk rockets with a range of up to 300 kilometers. In some configurations, the use of loitering munitions in containers is possible. In many countries, PULS is attractive due to its versatility. One launcher, several calibers, and a range spectrum of up to 300 kilometers. However, in the case of Norway, the system was promoted through a localized European production scheme. Criticism concerned practical issues: delivery speed, confidence in the implementation of localization, and most importantly, the absence at that time of an available munition with a range of approximately 500 kilometers. In other words, the system lost out not because of its characteristics on paper, but due to a combination of factors: timelines, development prospects, and supply reliability. HIMARS, despite its status as the most famous modern rocket artillery system, also faced difficulties in the Norwegian competition. The proposal approved by the United States included 16 launchers, GMLRS guided rockets, and ATACMS-class missiles at a price significantly below Norway's total budget. However, this package did not clearly outline the prospect of developing range to the 500-kilometer level, which the Norwegian side insisted upon. Even a proven system can cause doubt if a country finds itself dependent on an external supply chain for long-range munitions. This is where the strategy of the Hanwha company becomes noticeable. The victory of Chunmoo is explained not only by the characteristics of the launcher, but also by the approach to industrial cooperation. Norway already had a positive experience interacting with South Korean hardware, including the K9 and K10 artillery systems. This factor played a role in choosing a system capable of being delivered within established timelines. Added to this were offers for accelerated deliveries, industrial offsets, and the participation of national industry. As a result, the system began to be perceived not as imported weaponry, but as an element of national defense infrastructure. The Polish experience is often cited as confirmation. After orders were placed, deliveries of launchers began relatively quickly by European standards, while localization work proceeded in parallel. HIMARS also demonstrates the importance of the ammunition question. The program provides for local production of guided rockets. This changes the strategic balance. The question is no longer how many rockets can be purchased abroad, but how quickly domestic production can be scaled up. It is not about creating a completely new rocket line from scratch, but about developing production capacities through cooperation, licensing, and local assembly, so that in conflict conditions, ammunition consumption does not hit peacetime limitations. An additional factor that brings Chunmoo to another level is the development of a ballistic missile with a range of about 500 kilometers, known as the CTM-290 in open sources. If this munition enters service in an export-ready form, the system will cease to be just rocket artillery and will turn into a mobile long-range strike platform. This requirement was key for Norway. Against this background, a comparison with the German HIMARS system inevitably arises. It is conceptually close to Chunmoo. Two containers on a wheeled chassis, high mobility, and rapid deployment capability. However, HIMARS is fundamentally oriented toward the use of American MLRS family munitions. This provides compatibility and access to a developed line of rockets, but simultaneously ties the system to the same production constraints and export conditions. This very difference lies at the heart of the modern discussion about rocket artillery in Europe. Systems may look similar: wheeled chassis, modular containers, digital control systems. No, the key resource determining the outcome of long-term conflicts is the number of rockets available for use. HIMARS and HIMARS rely on an American production base with high potential but also high utilization. PULS offers flexibility and a wide choice of munitions up to a range of 300 kilometers. However, it does not always meet requirements for range and delivery timelines. Chunmoo and HIMARS bet on a combination of a two-container scheme and parallel supply chains of Korean production and localization in Europe, as well as the prospect of reaching a 500-kilometer range. This is why the statement that Chunmoo is more powerful cannot be reduced to a single metric. It is a cumulative argument. At the launcher level, two containers mean more ready-to-fire munitions. At the mission level, the ability to combine different strike types within one vehicle. At the force structure level, a reduction in the number of launchers needed to achieve the same effect. And at the strategic level, significance is gained not only by range, but by the ability to ensure sustainable ammunition production. HIMARS remains a system with a high reputation, combat-proven, with an advanced control and target integration system. However, the current priorities of European countries are shifting. The question is no longer just whether the system works, but whether it can be obtained quickly, supplied with ammunition, and developed without dependence on external factors. HIMARS in this context becomes a representative model. It is not just Chunmoo in a Polish execution, but an example of turning rocket artillery into an element of industrial policy. A national chassis, domestic integration of control systems, and the prospect of local ammunition production form a resilient system of employment. The result can be formulated as follows. Chunmoo is closer to the M270 system in terms of firepower logic, closer to HIMARS in terms of mobility, and closer to current European requirements in terms of production and supply organization. PULS remains a flexible system with a wide spectrum of ammunition. HIMARS is a European variant relying on the American ecosystem. But if the key question lies in the ability to ensure the mass employment of high-precision strikes, quickly replenish combat loads, and evolve to a range of 500 kilometers, Chunmoo and HIMARS provide the most complete answer to it. And in this context, competition goes beyond comparing launchers. It is a rivalry of ecosystems, precision, volume of fire, and industrial resilience, measured not by characteristics on paper, but by the number of rockets that can be employed month after month in a prolonged conflict.